Hey, it's Sunday. It's sitting around in the shop waiting for the snowpocalypse. We're supposed to basically get in for more or less the terms an ass beating here tonight. I'm waiting for it. In the shop, got a fire brewing, got some brews cold. So pause for the cause for a moment because it is Sunday. And what I just thought about a video that I wanted to post. It's another little tip that I have done in this shop for several years for the old guys, or I'm not, I shouldn't say that, not the old guys, the guys with the old antique outboards. You know, my policy is I don't take in anything that's very old unless it's a cream puff, and that still stands. But some of them come in and you troubleshoot it and you find out the ignition's up to snuff. It's got good compression, so obviously the next step is break into the fuel system. What I find on these old antiques is that the floats in the carburetors are made out of cork. Okay, we're going to show you a couple here. This is one. This is another. We're going to break out all three of these, and we're going to go over them here in a minute. All right. So to get this out of the way, this is one that's in really good shape, but the hinge is a little bit wonky and loose on it, because what happens over time is the gasoline will attack these things and it'll shrink the cork down. Okay, and if you're running the ethanol stuff, it attacks this brown coating as a lacquer, and they treat it so gasoline will not attack that float. The problem therein lies is that when you're running the ethanol enhanced fuels and stuff, you can see right here where it's tan, that's exposed cork. This lacquer is no longer any good and you can chip it right off. Okay, so what's a boy to do? All right, these are from two 50s old OMC motors, old Johnson Evinrudes, and you can't get that float anymore. This one here is actually from an early 80s 99 Evinrude Johnson, same thing. But at the time I couldn't get a float for it. It was back ordered. This was over the summer. So anyway, you see this black stuff that's all gooped on here. All right. This is a product this is what I've been using to salvage these old antique floats. It's called POR-15. Okay, and what it is the last video that I posted, you've seen this tank and these pieces, and that is what is applied to that is the POR-15. It's generally a rust preventative paint that you clean the metal, you etch the metal, and then you apply this stuff. And once it's cured, it is like a rock. It's almost better than powder coat, if the powder coat was done right. But what I've been using it for the past several years is float repair. And these old ones that you can't get anymore, that's the only reason I'm hanging on to these, is this stuff works great as a float coating. All right, what I do with it, the POR-15 process is they have a cleaner degreaser. They have a metal etching kit. One used to be called Marine Clean. The other one used to be called Metal Ready. So that's what I still refer to it as because I'm an idiot and I don't like updates too much. But so you take the Marine Clean and you basically dunk the stuff. You dunk your product in your float in there, and you just go around with your finger and you peel this old lacquer off as much as you can, and the stuff that's still stuck there is gonna stay stuck there once it's treated. But you want to get this thing biblically clean, and if you look at the float hinges between this float and that float, you can see how much cleaner the one on the right is over the one on the left. All right, it needs a rough surface to bite into, and that's what you're essentially trying to do. You're trying to get this old shit off to get it down to bare cork so that you can apply this stuff. Now, that notwithstanding, we're going to put these two away. So you get it all cleaned up, and you open up the can of POR-15, which I'll show you what the can looks like, and you can search it online. It's POR-15 Rust Preventative Permanent Coating. Paint directly over rust. Well, that's all fine and dandy. That's what its use is essentially for, but I found another use for it, and that is treating your old floats. Clean it with their cleaner. Get it biblically clean. Get as much of that old lacquer off as you can get it off. Take your mechanics wire and run through the loop. Then you take this and dunk it. After it's dry, you got to make sure this thing is biblically clean and biblically dry. Okay, so after you clean it, leave it hang for a day or so. Come back to it. Run your mechanics wire through it. Open your POR-15. Dunk it down in there for 5 seconds. Pull it out. Let the excess run off and then hang it somewhere. Okay, and you got to pay attention to it. Come over to it and give it the finger test. If you give it the finger test and it's pulling, a stringy section of paint from the float to your finger, it's not dry enough. You want to be able to take your finger and put your finger in the stuff and see a fingerprint, but not get any on your finger. Then you coat it again. What you're trying to do, if you look at this float here, you see this area here where my thumbnail is. That's a high spot. That's still old lacquer that's under there, but this is original cork here. Okay, and this is a high spot here. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to coat this again and make it so that gasoline will not attack it, because some of these old ones, if the motor's a cream puff and the float's messed up and you can't get another float for it, you're kind of stuck. You're at the mercy of either finding cork and making another one, which is a major pain in the ass, or salvaging your old one. So what I always do with these, firstly, clean them. These are the float hinge is pinched onto the cork, so I make sure that that's pinched on there nice and tightly. Dunk it. This one's got 3 coats of the POR-15 on it. Okay, if you look closely at it, you will not see anywhere where there is any other of the underlying coating poking through. You want to make sure that this is seamless with the POR-15. And the other double that it does is makes it so your float hinge is nice and solid again. So for that's just another little tidbit tip from your friendly boat guy for you guys working on these antiques, that you run into a problem where you can get the carburetor repair parts, but you can't get a float. That's what I do with them. I've had tremendous amounts of luck with them. I've never had one come back on me yet. I even use the stuff inside gas tanks. Guys will bring me, I had a good friend of mine brought me an ATV 125 Honda from the mid-80s. I think it was an 85 model. And somebody had lined the tank in it and they didn't do it right. He took it to another business and they put that red cream in it, and they didn't treat the rust. So they put this coating in over the rust. Well, I ended up slurry blasting all that out and burning it all out and applying that POR-15 inside of it. And that's been probably a decade ago, and he doesn't have problems with it. It covers over completely the metal, it seals it, and you don't have a problem with rust, you don't have a problem with the contamination anymore. It works on old outboard motor floats. The stuff is amazing. So old OMC dual line tanks, you can't get them anymore. Sometimes you can find the diaphragm parts and the internal parts to make the quote unquote fuel pump work in it. But you're not going to find another gas tank, the tank itself. And I've had quite a few of those come in that the tanks were rusty, and I relined them with this POR-15. The guys are still out there running them. These old antiques from the 50s. So you find one that you got an old dual line tank, or you got an old carburetor with a float that's cork and you can't get the float anymore. That's my advice to you, is coat it with the POR-15. Do at least 3 coats, but make sure you look at the float to make sure that it is entirely covered. You don't want to see any other color poking through on the float besides the POR-15. Once you do that, if you get up to like 8 or 10 coats, it's probably a lost cause, because it'll end up getting too heavy. But 3 generally will cover it. You'll be able to salvage it, and you'll be able to keep running the motor. So that's my advice today. And as always, do or do not, the choice is yours. Be good to each other. Much love to everybody. And as always, stay tuned. Or in this case today, stay tuned up. See ya.